I could give you a more interesting background if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay, let me look because my this computer has it has the camera in sort of a funny place, I feel. Um, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of new to me, but let's see. I don't know, that backlighting might be kind of annoying.
That'll be good. That's no problem.
All right.
All right. All right. So this is Kendall Cox. She is the Director of Education for Living Waters for the World. Describe to me the path of your career and how it led you to your current position at Living Waters for the World.
That goes back quite a ways. I would say that, of course, as a young child, I grew up in the church, and so mission was an important part of my life and my family's focus. And I left college and went straight into the Peace Corps and lived in Botswana, Africa for about 3.5 years, where I definitely learned the value of water and having access to clean water because I had to go get it. And it's very heavy. I didn't have to walk 3 miles, but it impressed upon me when you don't have running water in your hut how important it is to have access. And so I came home from Botswana, and that was 1992. Yeah, 1992. And moved to Mississippi pretty soon after that. And it was a while before I got started as a volunteer with Living Waters for the World. Living Waters for the World is based here in Mississippi. Our school, one of our schools is here. We also have a school out in California. So the founder came to my church and spoke, and I was sold. I was like, where do I sign up? Because I knew as soon as I heard his message that this was something that I wanted to be a part of the solution, and I figured I could be a part of that solution. I'm in public health. I'm a lactation consultant. That's my background. I worked for the health department for years, and so clean water, it all came together for me very easily.
All right. So you added on that you were in the Peace Corps. Would that probably be one of the bigger experiences that prepared you best for the position you are in right now? Or would it be something else?
Yeah. Well, certainly my liberal arts education. I think that was kind of set me on that path. Living in Peace Corps, they encourage you to live in the village. I was a teacher and I was also a coach, and so that meant that I was teaching at a local middle school, living in a very small hut, not even maybe about the size of this office that I'm in here at my church. And you living in another culture, learning that language, speaking in that other language as your. I wasn't fluent. I don't want to give that impression, but I got pretty good at it, and you become. I think it deepens you as a human being to go and live in another place. So I think it was probably one of the biggest. Maybe it definitely helped me to move toward this and say yes to it.
Okay. And how long were you in Botswana?
I lived there about 3.5 years. Peace Corps is typically 2 years, so I really loved it and stayed and stayed and stayed. So yeah, it was life changing for me to do Peace Corps, as doing any kind of rather long-term mission work. I don't look at 3.5 years as very long when you look at people who go and they spend their whole life, but it was longer than a week. Yeah. So it took some adjusting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what do you like best about your position right now?
When I as director of education, one of the things that I enjoy the most besides going with my own church, and we work in Cuba, so I'm heading to Cuba in a week after next. But my next favorite thing is training other people to do this work. And I love the model. I love that we teach people to teach people who are going to teach people. It's just ongoing. It's and when we run a school, Clean Water U is what we call it. It's like a 5-day. It's meant to be a time when we come together and we learn this info so that we can pass it along to our partners, and for our partners to run with that ball, because the best teachers are local teachers, and we're just sharing resources. So I get really psyched about gathering those students together, and we're about to start the class, and I'm thinking about where are all these people going to go in the world? I have no idea. Some of them will go to Ghana, or some of them will go to, maybe to Guatemala or Honduras, or, maybe they'll go to a place that hasn't even occurred to us yet, because God is preparing them and has been preparing them. And so that's probably about the most exciting part of my job, the thing that I love the most. And I love hearing from our students too, once they get back, and all the things that they learned that we couldn't teach them at Clean Water U, because you got to learn it, while you're doing it.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned that you do a little bit of traveling with Cuba. Would you say that is a challenging part of your job? And then adding on to that, what would be the most challenging part of your position?
I love the travel. I can be a bit of a homegirl. I live here in Mississippi, but I do love going to Cuba, and I've gotten to go to several places, both as part of my job and helping other teams. We tend to, our church here works in Cuba. And I wouldn't say that that's a challenging part of my job, except that, when you're getting ready to go, you're trying to think of, all the things. I want to remember this and I want to remember that. And really the most important thing for me to take isn't something that I'm going to put in my suitcase. It's just, me going, and hoping, that I'll have an open heart, because I'm going to bring back, I think that's the other, the thing that we have to remember in this work is that it's not a one-way flow. The flow comes back to us as well. We're not teaching anybody how to fish. We're teaching each other how to fish. They're going to, work together with us. We're coming alongside each other, and we're doing something that we can't do alone and they can't do alone. I think one of the challenges is that we have experienced in Living Waters for the World so many just kind of aha moments. Some of them have come from our partners, our operating partners, our initiating partners, who say, hey, we're out practicing this thing you taught us in the field, and here's what we're seeing, this pattern of a better way to do this, or a lesson learned. And then we have to shift what we are doing, because the real learning is taking place there. And we're trying to match that and teach that as best we can at Clean Water U. And keeping everybody up to speed, because we've trained over 2,000 people now, some of them starting all the way back in 2004, that's a long time ago. That was 54 sessions ago. So trying to find ways to keep everybody who wants to be, not everybody's still doing water, but everyone tucked in close, on best practices. We've changed a lot of the way we do things because we've learned from our partners. So we've become maybe a little bit more buttoned up. And so we have to teach that to everyone. And not everybody's going to come to Clean Water U for that. So we got to do it in different ways and meet students, kind of where they are.
And then could you add on and speak a little bit about how Living Waters for the World uses technology and in terms of the clean water systems themselves a little bit?
Yeah, I think that we're figuring out technology, making the best use of technology is, I think it's still a bit on the horizon for us, but I'll give you an example. I just thinking of how best to meet our partners where they are, our partners here in the U.S. as well as our partners in a network, for example. We have taken all of our manuals, every kind of little tools that we use, developed, record keeping, paperwork, and that sort of thing, and we put it on a USB. And
like
so,
these?
yes, just like that. And it took us we had that idea a long time ago, and it took us a long time to kind of get it all figured out. I don't know why. Why should it take that long to do that? But not everybody has a laptop, but a lot of folks do. And most people can catch up with a computer somehow. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you're putting that information right in their hands. And sometimes they'll take it and they'll modify it to suit their system or to suit their situation. And that's the whole idea. It's not that, no, you must do it this way. It's like, here's what we've learned. Now you take this and run with that. So that's one way, kind of a way that we use technology. Another way would be, I would say that we keep up with partners all over the world, and we have 820 plus systems in 25 countries. And not that we keep up with every single partner, every day or anything like that, but a great use of technology is that recently Hurricane Matthew came through, plowed through Haiti and Cuba, and had an impact on Dominican Republic. And we were, here on this side watching the storm, wondering, is everybody okay? Are our partners safe and dry? And to be able to hear from them rather quickly, because they can, text us or email us, or contact us via social media. I hear from a lot of partners via Facebook. Facebook is, it's like very far reaching.
Yes.
So even if you don't like Facebook, to me, it helps me do my work better. Mm-hmm. It's an awareness raising tool. And so we heard from Ansi, our in-country coordinator in Haiti, who said, the main bridge is out and communications are down, but we're assessing. And then you start hearing from partners who are saying, our system is okay, and we're already serving. Today we served a couple hundred people, and we know that cholera is here in the area because that's what happens after a hurricane, and so they already know that they're saving lives, and they pass that info to us, and we can pass that info along to other people, and it. We're fixing to have a webinar pretty soon to talk about our audits that we've done of a number of our networks. And that will just be a way that folks can tune into the webinar, really if they have an internet connection wherever they are, but then we'll record it and archive it. So I think that makes a pretty good use of technology. It's maybe not the fanciest, way. I've always wanted to, think about a smartphone and have that be, just an expert that's right there in your pocket that you could have, maybe even an app that helped you, an operator to say, oh, let me troubleshoot this thing that's going on that I can't figure out, or let me send my records for how many gallons, how many people I served. That could be cool too, but I think that we need someone who can figure stuff like that out. Maybe that's you. But we're making some use of the technology.
Thank you. And then, what skills or talents have you found are most essential and effective for your position?
Listening is the most important thing that I can do, that I can do no matter who I'm with. If it's someone who is just learning about Living Waters for the World, when you're passionate about a subject or a mission, it's easy to kind of jump ahead and, and almost like you're pulling them, going, come on, you need to get as jazzed about this as I am. My job really is to listen to our partners, listen to our volunteers, because we're a small staff. They're only, I guess, three of us. Four of us who are full-time now. And then we have some part-time folks. Everybody else is, they're volunteers, but it's like they're putting in major hours. So I need to listen to them, and make sure that we're matching what it is that we're teaching with reality, because they're living the reality. So that's one thing. And especially when you're working across cultures, I think that having that open heart and, and realizing that your way is just one way. It's not the way. And we have a lot of listening to do. I'm so glad for the patience that, folks have for me, when I'm out in the field, and especially when I'm, making, maybe I'm making some faux pas, or I'm miscommunicating across culture because I'm not fluent in Spanish. I have some walking around Spanish, and so there's lots that can be lost. And you can just assume, oh yeah, we're on the same page. No, we're not. We're really not. So, yeah. So listening and I think that's an important skill, and I would name that as like the top 10. Just listening, and patience on everyone's part. I think. In the end, we're doing something that we can't do on our own. And so we're meeting at this place in the middle. And there'll be times when we give a little and they give a little, but everybody brings assets to the table. So we have to make sure that everybody's getting a chance to share and listen and partake.
Okay. And then how would you describe the future and the growth for Living Waters for the World and for nonprofits in general? Do you see a positive growth or just anything really?
I feel pretty optimistic about the future of Living Waters for the World. And that could be because I'm generally an optimistic person, and I feel very optimistic about nonprofit work in general. I see that there's a place for, it can't just be all nonprofits. We have to have everyone in a community working together. But I feel that perhaps I feel young people, especially, when I see them, kind of coming into an organization and not just becoming part of that organization. I see that the organizations are changing because young folks are coming in, and I think that's a positive thing. We don't want to stay the same and stay stagnant. So that kind of makes me optimistic. I do think it's a little bit scary because you're trying to do these big things and you're relying on people to fund you, and we don't have, as I've heard some other nonprofits say, we don't have a unicorn that's making the money for us. We have to go out and get donors to come, welcome them in, see our vision that we have, which is that there will be clean water for everybody. Not just me, because I happen to be born here, but for everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge vision, and we're going to be a part of that. And that does take money. So that's a little bit scary because it feels so big, but I tend to be pretty optimistic about water nonprofit work, but nonprofit work in general as well.
Mm-hmm. And then last question. For myself as a current college student, how could I best prepare myself for a position like yours and working for nonprofit organizations after I graduate?
Yeah, well, I'd say a very broad-based education, liberal arts education, I think is terrific. Definitely studying a language, and if you get an opportunity to study abroad, I think that that could be very advantageous to this sort of work. If you can, when you graduate, if you have a very good handle on another language. I just happened to learn Setswana, which isn't so useful, but in the work that I'm in now, because we don't have any systems in Botswana, but learning a language, having that kind of showing that you can acquire languages, getting involved in some way with an organization like this, even if it's doing some work, maybe it's not international, maybe it's something local. Young folks have a lot that they bring to any table they're sitting at, and I can speak for water teams when they have a college student or a college graduate on their team. It brings a very refreshing dynamic. And certainly our partners in country love to see our young people come. It's not that they don't want to see us gray-haired people, but they love to see the young folks come, because otherwise it's like part of the family's missing. And they wonder, where are the young people? So I love to see the young folks at the table. So I'd encourage you to look for those opportunities, whether it's through a church or through some kind of civic organization, and try to get that experience of, if you can, living abroad for a stretch of time, if not a semester, maybe even beyond that, if you can. I think that's a great experience.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kendall.
You're welcome.
You were a great help, and I will send you.
It makes it sound like I was really, I knew